Welcome to the Redefine Podcast.
All right, welcome back to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to talk about content creation and publishing, what it means, what it looks like to be a purposeful and intentional content creator. I know in the last episode that I mentioned I was going to talk about my own content structure and the social media strategy that I'm rolling out right now, and we'll get to that in the next episode. However, I wanted to kind of step back, take this detour, and revisit this topic of content creation because if you're thinking about social media, your social media marketing as a funnel, the content creation is the front end of that funnel. And so if your content creation is ineffective, then the whole rest of the funnel falls apart. So I want to make sure you have clarity around this topic so that you know not only what to do, but why you're doing it, okay? All right, so let's just dive right in. The first place I want you to start is to ask yourself a question. What is the purpose? What do I want to achieve with my content? Now, many of you are business owners that are listening to this, you're entrepreneurs, and so the answer, of course, is to grow my business. Then you have to ask yourself, well, how do you grow my business? Well, I grow my business by generating sales, and that is also absolutely correct. But remember, I'm going to keep reminding you this and reminding you of this in this episode, is that this is a marketing funnel. The sales happens on the back end. The mistake that I see entrepreneurs making, especially ones that are new to the content creation space, the social media and online space, is that they put sales on the front end. And what ends up happening is the content that they generate, the content that they publish, ends up looking like a bunch of marketing and sales because they want to generate immediate sales with that content. That might work with business entities, like especially if it's a bigger business, it's a bigger company, because that's the brand they're building around the business entity. However, for individuals who are trying to build a personal brand, it's going to be largely ineffective because there's not going to be anything for an audience to connect with, right? Again, your feed and your posts will end up looking like sales and marketing. The intention and purpose for your content that you're putting out there is not to generate immediate sales. Remember, in the funnel, the sales happens on the back end. So what do we need on the front end of that funnel? People. Simple answer, people. So then the primary purpose of your content that you're putting out there is to grow an audience. Now, of course, there's other purposes for your content, and we'll talk more about that in the next episode. But the primary purpose of your content and the time and effort that you're putting into putting that content out there is to grow your audience. Now, how do you grow your audience? Really simple two-part answer. Number one, provide value, right? Make sure that the content that you're putting out there is value driven. And you know what, that value can look like a lot of different things. There's infinite different types of value that you can provide. For me, I love the education space. I love the coaching space. It's a type of value that I really naturally fall into. But whatever it is for you, I'm not going to define that, right? Be willing and open to kind of figure that out and not be constrained by what you might think what you might think you need to do to represent yourself and your brand. Of course, make sure that it's in alignment with who you are and you're being authentic. But again, value can mean anything. It can mean anything. It could be entertainment. It could be educational, informational, inspirational. It could be a lot of different things. So as long as the value that you're providing with your content is something that people can connect with, that's something that people resonate with, and something that people will not only look at once or twice, but will keep coming back for. That's really the purpose for providing value, is that you want people to not only consume it once, but to keep consuming it over and over again. And so the second answer then, the second piece of this equation is to be consistent, right? Because if you want people to consume over and over again, to keep coming back, you have to keep producing and publishing content, right? Now, there's this debate that's still going on about quality versus quantity, and the jury is really still out on this one. I'm not going to comment. I think there's a balance that you need to find for yourself, but the consistency part is really, really crucial. So here's what I want you to think about with your consistency. Excuse me. is with consistency, you have to do it regularly enough, right? Like you can't do it once this week and then twice next week and then take a week off and then do another 3 posts the week after that and then take a month off. It has to have a consistent cadence, right? For people to understand and to know that, hey, this content is continually coming out. I should follow this individual, because if it's not, then they'll just tune out, right? You want to be at the forefront of your audience's mind. So when it comes to consistency, number one, figure out a cadence that works for you, right? Especially for the short form platforms like your Instagrams, your TikToks, I suggest once a day. But if that's a little too much, 3 to 4 times a week, 5 times a week, right? But again, it has to be enough that you stay on the forefront of their mind, but also it has to have that balance of not burning you out. That's really the point that I'm getting to. Consistent enough that you stay on the forefront of people's minds, but not too much that it becomes overwhelming and it burns you out, right? All right, again, my suggestion for short form, once a day. Longer form stuff like YouTube videos, blogs, and podcasts, maybe 2 to 3 times a week, right? 2 to 3 times a week. But again, it's completely up to you. Whatever you think you can manage. The main thing is staying on the forefront of people's minds so that they know that you have consistent new content coming out, and balancing that with not getting overwhelmed and burned out. And then the second thing with consistency is making sure that you're not churning out too much, that you sacrifice the quality, the level of quality, the standard of quality that you want to maintain with your content, right? And again, that's completely your decision, right? As long as you're okay with the level of quality in your content, then it's totally fine, right? If that level of quality allows you to stay consistent with the cadence that you've chosen, then you're all good. There are some gurus or internet coaches and teachers that'll really focus on production value and this and that, and I don't want you to get hung up on all of that, right? If the quality, I think when it comes to quality, I want you to pay more attention to not how things look, because that's very surface. I want you to pay attention to the quality of the value that you're bringing, right? More than anything else, right? So quality, whatever level you're able to maintain, whatever standard you're able to maintain, is really up to you. It's your decision. Consistently enough so that you stay in the forefront of people's minds. And that's really it, right? It's those two things. That's how you grow your audience. Provide value in your content and be consistent with that content. And so if you're as you're doing that, you're growing your audience so that you're not talking to the same people over and over again. And the bigger your audience, the more people are going through your funnel, and ultimately the more sales you'll have. It's as simple as that. Now, obviously, there are more purposes for content. It does serve other purposes, like getting people to the next step in that funnel. And we'll talk more about that in the next episode. But in this one, I really, really want you to be clear about the purpose and intention of your content, because I still see people and entrepreneurs especially engaging in the same ways that they've always engaged on social media, posting the same type of stuff, talking to the same audience, which is all well and good. However, I think they'll eventually get tired of you asking for things and trying to generate sales, because then they'll eventually tune out, right? If you're continually talking to the same audience, your stuff will eventually get tiresome to them, and then you're just wasting your time posting, right? So if you're going to be posting on a regular basis anyways, the intention and the purpose of it might as well be to grow your audience, right? To grow your audience. And again, you do that by posting content of value and posting content consistently. So that's going to do it for this episode. Remember, in the next one, we're going to talk about my content structure and the social media strategy that I'm rolling out right now. So make sure you tune in. If you haven't yet followed the show, hit the plus sign at the top of this app, whatever podcast app you happen to be listening on. And of course, if you're watching this on the YouTube, go ahead and hit me with a thumbs up and a subscribe, and excuse me, and then we'll catch you in the next one. So that's going to do it for today. Until the next episode, be well, be safe. We'll see you in the next episode.